So the process is you actually you plug the device into the docking station, and then there's a back-end software system that you go into to actually see if there was any video. So basically what I did was I looked for that particular date and time in question, and I was unable to find any video for that particular date and time.
Was there any other video on there that you possibly, so much going on that you forgot about it?
There was no video from that particular date and time.
Okay,
I can't say that there was no video at all.
Okay, so you can't say for sure?
Not for that. I know for sure that there was no video during that particular date and time in question. Was there potentially video from a previous time and date? Sure, possibly.
Okay, now, you just said it could have been video from other times and dates, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Would it surprise you if I have here a video of how patrol car from a different day?
It's possible, yes.
Okay. Is it possible that we can play this for you and you can explain the process of Mr. Howard video from 1st month 19/2011, sir?
Potentially.
Okay.
From what day? I didn't hear that.
It's 1st month, from what I'm looking at, it's 1st month 19/2011. What I want to do is, let's look at how this thing was working in the process of, and then you can explain, then we can all get a clear picture on what's going on with this camera. We can see it instead of talking about it.
Judge, nothing is to lay the foundation for his visibility. I think, but I don't think you would be able to do that at this point. So you do that something for January the 19th, 2011, not necessarily, any event, you still got to lay the foundation.
Yeah. John, I thought I just did. I thought he said he looked at the video, we're talking about the process, how it works. And again, he sent it to me, they compliment off it.
Now, that's not an appropriate comment at this time. I mean, in regard to this, we're talking about what this officer downloaded on that day. He also indicated you could download it. That is not in. He's got to lay the foundation before that's admissible. And once he does that, I would have no objection to doing that whatsoever.
That objection's sustained.
Okay. Exactly so. Stand by. Sir, did you make any disc of officer how audio and video camera at any time and put it on the disc?
Do not believe so, no.
Did you know or anybody who might have made a disc and that you looked at it or anything from Officer Howard or audio and video camera, sir?
No, not no. It would have been another officer that generally retrieves the video.
Okay. Well, is it possible that you can see a video from Officer Howard's car and you can explain how it's working as it goes?
Potentially, yes.
Okay. So if I show you a disc with Officer Howard audio and video camera working, you can explain to the jury the process and what's going on with it as they see it.
Potentially.
70.
Yeah, this ain't yours. I was trying to, this is mine. So you right about yours.
Okay, this is another one.
Yeah, this is another one. I was gonna introduce my own audio and video cameras on the house.
All right.
So,
You finished with the
yeah,
foundation?
he's saying that he can explain it. I will ask the tender this in evidence, Judge, if he can look at it and he can explain what he's doing in the process. I want to introduce you to show the procedures, not the.
Let me hear from Mr. Ballman.
Judge, if he lays a proper foundation, I wouldn't have objection, but this officer's never seen any disc, hadn't even been shown the disc. He doesn't know whether or not that is it. He indicated that he didn't make any disc of that nature, so I don't think he would have to bring in any particular officer who would have done that. So it was not him. He indicated he didn't make anything. So at this point, that would not be proper for this person. Once he lays the foundation, I have no objection.
Yes.
Well, is it may I can show him the video, the president of the jury, then we can go from there. So, you see that?
There may be a time, but not now. I don't know what that is. This would have been something that would, that is not permitted, is that correct?
Exactly. I was trying to admit, this is a video of the actual cam off how the car and the process works. That's what I was trying to do. Introduce it so he can see what it's doing, and as it's going, he can explain exactly
We'll
what's
send the
doing.
jury out for a moment, please. I'm not sure how you're going to get a video that he knows nothing about into evidence to be able to show the jury.
Yeah, that's,
Just let me finish that. Now, if you're looking for a video that's already been admitted, that could be a different story. Now, I'll hear from Mr. Malden.
Judge, obviously Mr. Black didn't make that video. It's indicated he didn't make any DVD of any video, as there was no video of the shooting. He indicated that matters are downloaded, basically, generally by officers once a week. I guess it could be more often or less often. But I meant to ask him this question, I'll probably do it on the direct, but where basically once it's downloaded, it's no longer on that DVR hard drive, it goes back in the car. It's removed from that. I think what he's talking about is something prepared by another officer in April of this year, when he went back in just to look and see if they could find the last upload from that car. That was done by Richard Leader at the police department. And indicating the last video from Officer Howard from that year that they could find is January of 2011, January 19th, when we stopped at that point. There wasn't anything this individual was flagged in. So that's what he's talking about. I guess his point is he's trying to say, well, the video was working, you know? It was mainly working in January 19th, 2011, but that's not anything this officer would know. He hadn't viewed it, he didn't make it, he can't authenticate it, you know? That's the problem.
That is the basis for me sustaining the objection.
yeah, I agree. What I was trying to do is, she was telling me the same thing, what y'all saying. But my thing was, if I can show it to him, and he can see what it is, I'm not doing it as far as authentication. I want him to explain the procedure, what this camera doing. You know, they keep explaining stuff, but we won't show nothing. So what I was gonna do is, hey, play it out beside the president of the jury, let you see it and let them see it. And then if he can say, hey, I know what they're doing, I would just only like to show it to the jury, hey, this is the process, the 30-second time, and he cut the lights on, this happened this time. That's all I was trying to do.
But I don't, there's not been a foundation laid
Yeah, I do understand.
for that particular
Yeah, but
piece
it's
of
officer.
evidence.
Yeah, but it's officer. I mean, I know that, and you're right about that. So, but that's what I was trying to do. Okay, so I guess at the end, I guess I can keep him subject to recall until Mr. Leader comes in, and then I can ask him after get them out of here, then, you know. But that's what I was trying to do.
Yeah. I think, other than just showing in January the camera was working, I don't think any stop from January 2011 would be relevant anyway to what happened in March of 2011. It just simply showed at that time, this was the last video the police department had of Tony Howard's car, and that at that time it was working. Other than that, showing the video, I don't believe would be relevant at all once we ever get to that point, but it certainly would be to Mr. Black.
And I agree to a certain extent. I'm not talking about all of it stop. What I'd like to do, hey, this video is working. What is it doing at this moment? What's it doing at this moment? Why is it doing it? So we can explain and we can see. You know, we can put a face on it. It'll be better than just word of mouth. At the end of the day, that's all I was trying to do. So, but you're right about, hey, you even set the foundation with him because he's the one that put on the disc. So that's what I was, you know, just want you to understand what I was attempting to do.
All right. Ready to bring them back in?
Yes, Judge.
So what we just overrule, we can't do.
I'm gonna sustain the objection unless there's some other way that you're planning to get it into evidence today.
I mean,
right now.
So what I was trying to say, if you look at this video, and if he can say, well, I can explain this, what it's doing, this, what it's doing, can we do that? I mean, well,
Not with it, no.
Okay, I do understand.
Because they're not gonna be able to eventually, you're not gonna be able to show it to the jury.
okay, I
So
understand, I understand.
It wouldn't make any sense.
Okay, I understand.
Now, there is a video in evidence.
Yes, I understand, sir, but I want Tony Howard, this call
I
from this call.
understand.
So I just wait, if I got something to recall, we'll do that, I was just trying to prevent that, that's all.
All right.
Okay, I just wait.
Bring the jury in, please. You wanna take that off?
Mr. Black, sir. I'm saying,
Yes, sir.
I'd like for you to look at State's Exhibit, 232, sir. Get a little red light. He did. Mr. Black.
Yes, sir.
Could you take your little red light at point where Officer Howard, audio and video camera, cam is in that car, sir?
The camera itself?
Yes, sir.
Camera itself is right here.
Okay. And then the front, you said something about a front camera, a front view?
Yes, that is the front view camera, correct.
Okay. What would that rear view camera be in?
The rear view camera is typically, you can't see it from this particular frame, but you can see basically the cage for the rear seat would be here. Typically, it's just on the other side of the cage in the rear.
I think you testified that you was an Athens Clark County police officer for 5 years.
5.5 years, yes, sir.
5.5 years. So you familiar with the Athens Clark County Police Department high-risk traffic stop protocol?
I was at the time, yes.
Okay. Don't the protocol say that an officer, if they making a high-risk stop, they got to activate that camera, call for backup, call central communication and tell them they're stopping the suspect?
Based on my recollection, yes.
Okay, is it also true that the protocol states that the officer is supposed to call for backup?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When the officer cut that camera on, if he's making a traffic stop, would you, if you making a high-risk traffic stop, would you cut your camera on?
Yes, sir. Because the front lights would be initiated, therefore activating the camera.
Why would you cut your camera on them lights on?
Well, if it's a traffic stop, then you need the lights.
How about a high-risk traffic stop dealing with a carjacking suspect? Why would you cut your camera on?
Ms. Lee, he said basically he was doing it, he cut the blue lights on, which would automatically activate the camera.
So the I'll overrule the objection.
Okay. I ask you again, sir. If you making a high-risk traffic stop on a carjacking suspect, why would you cut your blue lights on and your cameras on?
To A, initiate the traffic stop, and B, to record the incident. initiated his front blue lights or manually initiated recording.
Okay, how many days was it before you, they asked you to check this camera system, see what's on the tape?
I initiated the download that day and tried to retrieve potential video within probably 1 or 2 days thereafter.
Okay, you said 1 or 2 days after.
Correct.
So you didn't, as you downloaded the first day, you didn't look at it the first day?
No, because as I said earlier, it generally takes, if the hard disk is full of video, then it can take 8 hours to download.
Okay, so is it possible that somebody else came in and looked at that video or stopped that video before you got back to check it?
No. Well, yeah, somebody could potentially stop it, but the device stays in the record or in the docking station, and it was there when I went back to check as well.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You don't find it strange that Mr. Howard had a camera in his car, and there's a police shooting incident, and he ain't got nothing to look at? You don't find it strange?
I was not there, and I don't know the totality of everything that went on at that particular point in time, so.
After you retrieved this upload and you didn't see nothing about the police shooting incident, you didn't find it strange?
Like I said, I was not there, so I can't speculate as to why or why not he did not initiate recording.
But you did say you would activate the show, didn't you?
I personally would, yes.
Now, sir, you said that the officer, they download their videos every week. Tell us about that.
So this right here is the actual recording unit, so which is what we're referring to as the hard drive unit. Directly in front of the center console to the right of the steering wheel.
Oh, right here?
This white box, it looks like a white box right here, but it's black and silver.
Okay, I see.
So basically what happens is there's a handle that you lift up and you actually take it out. And that's what we place in the docking station at the police department.
Okay. So, if Officer Howard had followed the right procedure, that thing would have tape in there. Is that what you're telling us? It would have had something on there?
Well, that's argumentative, and it would be an inappropriate question.
So, just say if you had to cut your lights on, if you were making a high-risk traffic stop, so it would have been right there in the tape chain, that what you're telling us?
It would have been contained on that DVR, correct?
Okay. So you say every week they're supposed to do this?
It's up to the officer. I'm not aware of a policy that says they have to download once a day, once a week, or whatnot.
Why did you say they download every week? Why did you say that?
That's the norm.
Oh, so that's your norm to download it every week?
Correct, because and it depends a lot on the officer. So some officers that are assigned this particular system, they may work from the west side precinct. So they don't necessarily come to the east side precinct every single week.
You arrived on the scene, sir. So did you see that? Did you see the car, the red SUV that Mr. Howard pulled over, sir?
Don't recall.
But you was on the scene. You checked the car for the camera, but you was on Sycamore Drive looking at them cars. Is that correct?
I was on scene just to where they had the mobile command center, which was in one of the adjacent parking lots, one of the apartment complexes.
Okay. I'd like you to look at State's Exhibit 170, sir.
Okay.
I'd like to start over. Now, sir, in State's Exhibit 170 here, the officer inside that, well, if an officer not inside that car, why would this camera be recording by itself?
So depending on when he initiated his blue lights, it records 30 seconds prior. So he could have potentially turned on his blue lights 30 seconds after this, or he could have inadvertently turned it on via his wireless mic that was on his belt.
Okay, I want you to look at this, follow this, and just look at this, and tell us what this camera's doing.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Why was you doing that?
Because potentially, if you were to push play, I would suppose that he would be turning on his blue lights.
Sir? You said blue lights.
Correct.
He was not eating, well, he was in a restaurant before he come out.
Correct.
Okay. But he didn't have no reason to have his blue lights on while he was eating, correct?
Correct. But as I stated earlier, it pre-records so many seconds prior to the lights being initiated.
Okay, so any officer making a high-risk traffic stop, it would have did the same thing that this camera doing 30 seconds before, just would have recorded.
Sure.
So,
Your Honor, that would be, that's a misleading question. That would be only if they initiated the blue lights. And therefore was a misleading question.
I already heard on that too. The blue lights, he was in there eating. What I'm trying to see is, show us this. He was in there eating with no blue lights on. He just run out this restaurant. And that thing was recorded before we got out there. So the blue light went on in the record. That's what I'm trying to show.
We've heard the testimony about that many times.
Yeah.
I don't know how it can be explained any differently. I'll ask you a last question.
I did go on.
Okay.
I did go on. So I'm gonna skip on up, so won't waste too much time here, sir. I want you to follow this car, if you will, please, sir. When you enter Sycamore Drive, did you come this way, sir?
Which time?
March 22nd, 2011. Did you?
The initial, I was posed right here at this intersection, and that's where I parked for several hours.
Yeah, before, I mean, you said you checked that car for the camera.
That was later in the afternoon, evening. Yes, sir.
Okay, so late in the afternoon to evening, did you go down Sycamore Drive this way when you went down?
I don't recall if I went down that way or if I entered the apartment complex off of West Broad.
Hold on, let me see. When you say enter an apartment complex, are you saying that? Talking about apartment, you go down this way and go right here, see that right area?
No, it's and I don't live in Athens anymore, but if I remember right, this is the Howard Johnson, or at least it was back then. And then there's an apartment complex just past that, if I recall
Where
correctly.
was they?
I don't recall the name, but
You can cut through them and go straight to Sycamore Drive?
that's correct, yes.
Okay.
And the mobile command center was parked, if I remember right, at the very back next to the tennis courts.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So you didn't go this way, did you recall?
I don't recall, no, sir.
Okay. And you said that was late in the day?
Yes, sir.
So all the, everybody was gone when the officer down now? What was the scene like when you got there?
It was generally the forensics investigators doing their investigation.
Okay.
And then the mobile command center was
Was
at
this-
some point down the road.
Was this taxi cab there when you got there was gone?
I can't recall.
Okay, I want you to look at something for me. You see this, they say it's a taxi cab right there.
Okay.
See that? See that white truck right there?
Yes, sir.
Which to you, which is closer to the police car, the white truck or that black, or that taxi cab?
The white truck.
Okay. Just guessing, let me just back up just a little bit further. If you can just guess, I want you to look right here. Where this taxi cab at.
Okay.
From right here, I'm gonna drive this car on down here with the police car. Just look right here and just follow. How far do you think that taxi cab is from that police car right now?
I don't know. I'm not an expert in depth.
You can give us just snap off the top of your head, 40 yards, 50 yards, 100 yards?
A couple hundred yards, I guess, maybe.
Couple hundred yards. Okay, you see, Officer Christian car down the road right there, down the road, right there, you see the white area?
Mm-hmm.
Will you agree that his car is further down the road than this first car right here?
Yes, sir.
How far would you think Officer Christian car is away from that taxi cab up there?
I have no idea.
Will you agree that it's further than Officer Howard's car?
Yes.
Okay. And you agree that this white truck is closer to Officer Christian car than that taxi cab all the way up that road? Will you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. So when none of this, when you got there, all the people were gone, Officer Howard was gone, Officer Christian was gone, everybody was gone when you got there?
Correct.
Well, it'll be a waste of time to ask you no more questions about this video. You can turn the lights on, it'll waste your time. No more question at this time, sir. I wouldn't have accepted the recall.
Black, I meant to ask you this before. Once the officer takes the DVR out of that, or it's removed by you, you know, in this instance, and it's basically put into the system to be downloaded, once something, if they had a particular traffic stop on it, once it's downloaded, does it remain on that DVR that goes back in the patrol vehicle at all?
No, the videos are transferred to the actual server itself. So that way the officer can go back out and be able to use that space on that DVR for additional traffic stops or whatever the case may be.
And you'd indicated officers as a norm, and that necessarily depends on each officer, depends on maybe where they're working. The norm is they would try to download those about once a week.
Correct. Or if once it got full, then they'd be forced to initiate the download.
Okay. And once it's downloaded, that DVR would be blank when they put it back in the car.
That is correct.
Okay. And if there was some stop from January of 2011 from Officer Howard, would you expect that to be still on the
Yeah,
DVR at all or not?
I object, because we couldn't bring that in, he shouldn't be answering that question.
That's a different question.
If in fact there was a stop from January of 2011, some 3 months before this, on Officer Howard's video, would you expect that or not? Would you expect that to be on the DVR in the car still at the time?
Not on the DVR in the car, no, sir.
Thank you, sir.
If Officer Howard made a stop on January 19, 2011, why would it still be on the DVR?
It would not be on the DVR if he had initiated the download.
Okay, so, but why, if he didn't initiate the download, why would it still be, are you telling it it'll still be on the camera, what you telling?
No, it would be, so if at any point between that particular date and now, if it's still in the DVR, then that would indicate that he had not downloaded.
So, that means to tell us that he never did download this video for no months, what you telling us?
I can't say when or when he did not download the video.
Okay, so if the last video is from first month of 2011, and this had March 22nd, 2011, and it's still on that camera, that means it wasn't downloaded.
That's
No.
a misleading question. That would be a misleading question because that conclusion is not reached. You can't say that. None of the witnesses talked about it.
Well, Your Honor, he just talked about Officer Howard and a traffic stop from January 19, 2011. He the one brought it up. That's why I got back up and said what I said. So if he, that means he acknowledging Mr. Howard got a video from first month 19, 2011. So what I'm asking him is, why would it still be on there from first month 19, 2011? That's my question.
And I believe that, I'll let him answer that question.
So there's two parts to it. So there's the DVR itself that maintains the video until it's downloaded. After it's downloaded, the video is then stored on the server itself. Based on that, there's a series of retention schedules that are set in place. So depending on how the officer or one of the evidence custodians classifies that video, that will determine how long that video is retained physically on the server itself.
Okay. I thought you just said if you upload it, it'll make everything disappear.
From the DVR itself, because it is now on the server itself.
Okay.
And that's where the DVDs are actually burned from.
Okay, if first month 19, 2011 is still on there, that means it hasn't been uploaded
No, it's on the actual server itself, which is where all the video resides, and that's where the evidence custodians are able to burn those DVDs from.
Okay, well, why March 22nd, 2007, 2011 is not on the server?
Because there was no video.
Oh, no further questions.
Nothing further, Judge.
Sorry, that's yours.
That brush, one again.
Your Honor, could you switch the,
Are you doing the laptop or the Elmo?
Elmer?
Elmo. Just where you are.
Thank you. Morning, Ms. Lund.
Good morning.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm that testimony you're about to present today shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes.
Please be seated. If you don't mind, scoot close to the microphone so we can hear you. And if you will, state your full name and spell your last name for the court.
Deborah Lumpkin, DeborahLumpkin.
And thank you, ma'am. Let me start off by asking this. Are you related in any way to the former police chief, Joseph Lumpkin, that worked for the Athens Clark County Police Department?
No, sir.
Do you have any close relatives that work for the Athens Clark County Police Department?
I have an uncle that's retired from Athens Clark County Police Department,
And what's his name?
Frankie Lane.
Now, do you know if he had anything to do with this case?
No,
Oh. Now, do you currently work?
no,
Okay. Where have you worked in the past?
yes.
And what sort of work have you done?
Medical billing.
Okay. And who did you do that with?
Athens Women's Clinic, St. Mary's Hospital, Dr. James Brown, Dr. Gilbert Harris. I think that's the last one.
All right. And how long did you do that sort of work?
About 15 years.
And are you married?
Yes,
How long have you been married?
29 years.
And do you have children?
Yes,
How many children do you have?
2.
Are they grown children?
Yes,
And what sort of work do they do?
my son works for UVS and my daughter is in college,
Okay. And what is she studying?
biology,
And what school does she go to?
Valdosta State University.
And do you have any grandchildren?
Yes,
How many grandchildren do you have?
5,
And what are their ages?
4, 3, 2, 1, and 10 months.
Now, back in March of 2011, where did you live?
1170 Summit Oaks Drive, Watkinsville, Georgia,
All right. And is that in Athens, Clark County?
Oconee County.
Oconee County. And do you still live at that address?
Yes,
Okay. And now, prior to testifying today, have you had the opportunity to record some of the statements that you made back in March 2011?
repeat that?
Prior to testifying today, have you had the opportunity to review some of the statements that you made back
Yes.
in March
Yes,
of 2011?
yes,
And were you provided a CD to hear those statements?
yes.
Okay. Now, let me begin back in March of 2011. What sort of vehicle were you driving?
It was a 2000 Geo Prism Chevrolet.
And Geo Prism? Was it your vehicle?
No, it's my mother's.
All right. Did you have a vehicle at that time of your own?
Yes,
And why weren't you driving that particular vehicle?
I needed some work done on the vehicle at that time.
Okay. And so were you borrowing your mother's vehicle?
No, I actually had access to the car, but my cousin had it, so whenever we needed it, they would bring it to us.
Okay. So who is your cousin?
Sharon Jones,
And um, when did she obtain the car from your mother?
maybe 2 weeks prior to the incident that happened March 22nd.
And was your cousin allowed to drive the car, or was it just parked over at your cousin's house?
She was allowed to drive the car.
Did she have any adult children that
Yes.
were of driving age?
Yes,
And who were they?
four of them. Her oldest is Kenesha Phillips. The next one is Jared Jones, Tashika Jones, and Micah Jones.
And did they also have access to drive this vehicle?
Yes,
All right. And I neglected to ask you, what's your mom's name?
Irma Shaw.
Irma Shaw. And that's who actually owned the vehicle?
Yes,
Okay. Now, when, getting back to March 22nd, 2011, did you ask your cousin if you could go ahead and use the car?
yes,
And were you just using it for that day, or were you using it for an extended period of time?
just that day.
Just that day. And if I may, I'd like to show you States Exhibits 699 through 701. Now, if you will, can you look at States Exhibits 699, 700, and 701? And do you recognize those photos?
Yes,
And what are those photos of?
picture of my mother's car.
Okay. Your Honor, it does fairly and accurately depict your mother's car back in March of 2011.
Yes,
Your Honor, the state moves to tender States Exhibits 699, 700, and 701.
Any objection?
No, sir, Your Honor.
Very good.
Ma'am, if I can draw your attention to the screen. And looking at States Exhibit 699, can you tell the jury what we are viewing?
my mother's car.
Okay. And is this the Geo Prism that you just described?
Yes, it is.
And can you tell us what color the car is?
Silver.
Silver.
Yes,
And looking at States Exhibit 700, you need to tell the jury what we're viewing in this photograph.
mother's car.
All right. And is this from the side view?
Yes,
And obviously it's a four-door.
yes,
Okay. Lastly, States Exhibit 701. Can you tell us what we're viewing in this photograph?
my mother's car.
And is this the rear of the vehicle?
Yes,
I don't know if you can see this. All right. Can you see the license plate on the vehicle?
yes,
And can you tell us what are the first three numbers of that license plate?
375.
believe I've been referring to this as a geo. Is it a prism or a geo?
It may be just a prison.
Okay, thank you. And is it a Chevrolet?
Yes.
Okay. Now, on the particular day that you were driving this car, can you remember what you were doing that day? Why did you need a vehicle?
As I said, I live in Oconee County, so I came to Athens to go to the post office and to get some lunch.
Okay. And were you visiting anybody that day?
No.
Okay. Do you know him as Amy McWhorter?
Yes.
Were you visiting her that day?
No. I
Okay.
was not visiting her.
Did you go to her house?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us about that.
Well, I came to Tammy's house after I had stopped by McDonald's, and I was on the telephone having a conversation with my son. I had stopped twice to use the phone because we were having a disagreement. So I stopped in her parking space to actually just stop and talk on the phone.
All right. And where does Amy McWhorter live?
She did live at 203 Windy Hill Way.
All right. And is Windy Hill Way in Athens, or is that in Oconee, or do you know?
In Athens.
Okay. And I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 702, and just ask if you recognize this particular map.
Yes.
All right. And will then assist you in describing to the jury sort of the route that you took to Tammy McWhorter's house and where you were parked at.
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, the state moves to tender State's Exhibit 701.
Any objection?
No, sir, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, 702.
Any objection, 702?
No, sir, Your Honor.
Now, let me ask you this. With regard to Tammy McWhorter, how did you know her?
I just know her locally from living in Athens.
Okay. Now, looking at State's Exhibit 702, there's a laser pointer up on in front of you. If you could demonstrate with the laser pointer the area where Tammy McWhorter lived. All right, in that area
Right
there.
there.
Okay, there. So Tammy McWhorter lived in this area right here. Is that what you're telling the jury?
Yes.
And using State's Exhibit 702, when you were going to Tammy McWhorter's house, were you coming down this way off of Broad Street?
Yes.
All right. And as you were coming down Broad Street, did you pass by this street called Sycamore Drive?
Yes, from Broad Street.
Okay. And on Broad Street, did you end up coming down Ebbs Bridge to get to this area?
That's correct.
Okay. So as you're driving on West Broad Street and you come up on Sycamore Drive, can you tell the jury what you saw at that time?
Well, I really wasn't paying attention. As I came down Atlanta Highway, I saw like a bunch of policemen at the store across from Hayward Alley. And I just proceeded to pass, and I passed it and took a right where Brack Road used to be at that time and went up that hill.
All right. Did it seem like something was going on? Was there a lot of police officers in and around Sycamore?
Yes.
Okay. But you weren't really paying much attention to that. So as you go down Ebbs Bridge, tell us what happens
conversation with my son, so I took a right there, right road, and I proceeded to go up the hill. And there's a store right in there. My son had called me, and when I passed the store, got to the stop sign is when I answered the phone.
All right, let me stop you right there. I'm showing you what's already been marked as State's Exhibit 16. And is this sort of blow up of the area? Can you tell us what stop sign you initially pulled over?
Excuse me, I'm lost. Did he say, what is this? Is this 702 is 16?
16. One more. All right. So can you tell us where the stop sign was that you pulled over?
Right there.
Okay. And did you, at some point before you got to Ms. Tammy McWhorter's house, did you pull over and use the phone?
Yes.
And where was that on this map?
Right in here where this duplex is right here.
Okay. So at that point, you pulled over and you started using the telephone.
Yes.
And about how long were you on the phone at that point?
Maybe a couple of, maybe not more than 5 minutes.
All right. And when you pulled over at that location, later on when you were describing to the police what happened later, did that sort of location cause confusion in your mind?
Yes.
And explain to the jury why.
Because me and my son were having a real heated argument, and that's actually why I stopped to use the phone. And he and I were having this disagreement, so I was just really confused at that point, because I did stop again after that before I actually turned right here. So I stopped at this red light, stopped right here, phone was still ringing and going on, so I actually just came on through that little area right there and pulled around to right here.
All right. And later on, when you're describing events that occurred, did that sort of cause confusion where you were when all this had happened?
Yes.
All right. Now let's fast forward from that phone call to pulling into the duplex where your friend Tammy McWhorter lived. Can you show us where her duplex is?
Right there. Right there.
So I make sure I understand what you're saying. Is this
Right
duplex
here.
right here is your friend Tammy McWhorter where she
Yes.
is? All right. And when you came around this corner, where did you park?
Well, there's 2 parking spaces for each apartment. So there's an apartment on the other side, which is 201, and her apartment was 203. So I parked in the first parking space that belonged to her duplex.
All right. So as you pull in here in this duplex, was Tammy McWhorter expecting you?
No.
Okay. So this was you just kind of showed up sort of unannounced.
Yes.
All right. And as you're sitting outside in the vehicle, what were you doing?
On the phone.
Okay.
I was calling my son again.
Okay. So you were still having this heated argument with your son?
Yes.
Okay. And was the engine running?
No.
Okay, the car was off?
Yes.
All right. And as you're sitting here parked in your car, can you tell the jury what happened next?
When I parked, actually stopped and parked the car and cut the car off, I was trying to call him back. His phone kept going to the voicemail. So while I was waiting to hear from him or either call him back again, someone approached my car from the side of the duplex.
All right. And did you recognize this person?
Not at the time, no.
Okay. Now, when you say they approached using this laser pointer, can you show where they approached from?
On the side of the duplex right here.
All right. So the person that you saw, were they on foot or in a car?
Foot.
Okay. And the person person you saw just was on foot walking through in between these two duplexes.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And tell the jury what happened next.
Well, when I saw the person come from the side of the duplex, I actually thought it was just somebody working on the lawn or something. So I made eye contact with the person, but I just didn't pay any attention. So I proceeded to do what I was doing in the car, trying to call my son. And after he passed my car, he was out of my view. I didn't see him anymore. And it was maybe about 5 or 6 seconds. He was inside my car. I didn't hear him approach my car or anything. He was just in the car. When we got in the car, he told me he was running from the police, not to do anything stupid, and he needed for me to drive. And that's what I did.
All right. And did this individual have any weapons?
Yes.
And describe the weapon.
It was a black gun. That's all I know. I'm not familiar with guns, but it was black.
All right. Well, was it a handgun that you could hold in,
Yes.
in your hand?
Not like a cowboy gun. It was just a gun, a black gun.
All right. And what was going through your mind at this point?
I don't know. I just wanted to do what he asked me to do. He told me not to do anything stupid, so I was focusing on not doing anything stupid and just doing what he asked me to do.
Let me take this off the screen. When this individual got in your car with this handgun and told you to drive, did you say anything in response to this person?
Yes.
What did you say?
I asked him, was he involved in that was going on Atlanta Highway? But he didn't answer me.
And why did you ask him that?
Because he said he was running from the police.
Okay. And so you saw the police cars up there?
Yes.
Okay. Did you know exactly what happened up there? Well, let me rephrase that. Did you know 2 officers were shot on
No.
Sycamore and one was dead?
No.
You didn't know that?
No.
Okay. Now, when you asked that question of the person, what did they say?
Nothing.
Did he make any kind of facial expression?
I really wasn't looking at him.
Okay. Well, tell the jury what happened next.
After I pulled out of the parking space and I proceeded to drive, after we got maybe 6 or 7 feet, he told me, he said, better yet, I think maybe you just need to get out. So I got out, I drove to the stop sign actually, and I made a right. And I can't remember what the name of the street is, but I made a right after the stop sign, and I got out. And when I got out, he got out of the car, and I asked him, I said, well, what about my car? This is my mother's car, and he said, I'll put it down, they'll find it.
And what did you take that to mean?
They find it, I get it back at some point.
And did you get out of the vehicle?
I got out of the vehicle, I got my wallet, got out of the vehicle, and I walked, that's when I ran back to Tamlin Porter's house.
Okay. And were you frightened at this point?
Of course.
And what about the individual that was in your car? What did that person do?
After he said that they find my car, he just got in the car, he left the passenger side, and came around to the driver's side, got in the car, and he left.
Okay. All right. Well, let me ask you some follow-up questions, if I may. Now, going back to the map we were looking at, State's Exhibit 16. You indicated, first of all, you indicated that the individual that approached your car was on foot walking this way, correct?
Yes.
Can you first of all tell us, how did the person look? How were they dressed? And what was a physical, can you give a physical description? of the
Well,
person?
he appeared to be maybe 5'7" or 8", maybe 180 pounds, somewhere in that range. If I remember correctly, he had on a white, some kind of light colored t-shirt with writing on it. It was a lot of shrubbery on him, like leaves or something, and shorts.
All right. And could you remember if the person was dry or damp or sweaty or anything of that nature?
It was sort of damp.
Okay. And did you tell the police that?
Yes.
Okay. And what about the person's hair? Was it thick hair, or do you remember?
Just a little haircut.
Okay. And you indicated again that he was walking through this direction. So I want to ask you a question about this area over here. Do you know whether this is wooded area, this direction over here?
Yes.
Okay. And let me show you what's already been tendered. It states Exhibit 14. Now, if we're looking at where we were just looking at on the other map, in this area here where the duplexes are from, if a person was walking from this area coming up in this direction, is this wooded area? Are these trees and shrubbery?
Yes.
Okay. And if we look to the bigger map, a wider view, states Exhibit 702. Are you familiar with this river here?
Yes.
And do you know the name of that river?
I'm really not sure.
Okay.
It may be the Oconee River, but I'm not positive.
And so if you were to come down Sycamore, does that lead right to that river?
Yes.
Sycamore Drive.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And if you were to go across this river, would you be able to walk to this area from Sycamore Drive? Or do you know?
I don't know.
Okay, that's fine. Now, you just described the person, what he was wearing, and his height and his weight. Now I want to ask you with regard to his demeanor. Do you understand when I ask you what was his demeanor like? How was he acting? Can you tell the jury?
He didn't appear to be anxious or excited or anything like that. He had a rather calm demeanor,
All right.
in my opinion.
And so at any time was he yelling and screaming at you?
No.
Okay. Did he appear to be in control?
Yes.
Have you ever seen anybody intoxicated under the influence of alcohol or drugs? Have you ever seen anybody intoxicated?
Yes.
Did this individual appear that he was intoxicated on either alcohol or drugs?
No.
When this person was communicating with you, did you understand what he was saying?
Yes.
Did he appear to be able to articulate what he was trying to say to you?
Yes.
Did he ever appear to be scared or unsure what to do?
No.
Did he appear to be focused and sort of have a plan?
Yes.
Now, during this conversation with this individual, were you able to see his face?
I didn't look at him at that point. I only made contact with him visually when he approached my car.
Okay.
And after I got out.
Well, let me rephrase my question. At any point during this interaction, were you able to see his face?
Yes.
Okay. And at any time, did he try to hide his face?
No.
Was he wearing a mask?
No.
Was he wearing a hat?
No.
All right. So, did you get a good look at his face?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you indicated at some point when he told you to drive, as you were driving away from this duplex, were you driving fast or were you sort of driving the speed limit?
I wasn't driving fast because after I backed out and proceeded to drive, it's not that far of a distance. So just kind of normal back out,
Okay.
the car and drive.
In the Chevrolet Prism, does it have a lot of power?
No,
Okay. And at any point, did this individual tell you, you need to drive faster, I need to get out of here, or anything like that?
no, he just said, better yet, I need for you to just get out.
Okay. And was that in close proximity from where you started from?
Yes,
Okay. And how far did you actually drive, if you were just to guess?
maybe a quarter of a mile, if that far.
All right. And when you pulled over, did you grab anything out of the vehicle before you got out of the car?
Just my checkbook, which was inside the door panel.
Okay. And was that door panel next to you on the
Yes.
driver's side?
Yes,
Now, going back to the photograph of the vehicle. When the person got into the Chevrolet Prism, where were you seated in the car?
in the driver's seat. Which,
So, in this area.
yes,
And where did the person get into the car?
on the passenger side.
Okay, is it the passenger side in the front?
In the front,
Or in the back?
yes.
Now, showing you a side view of the vehicle, State's Exhibit 700. You indicated that when you initially saw this individual, he walked past your vehicle. Was it on this side of the vehicle or over on the driver's side?
The passenger side, this
So-
side.
Okay, so the individual, as you were sitting in the car, walked past on this side of the vehicle.
Yes,
Where did you lose sight of him as he was walking past this side of the vehicle?
about right in here.
Okay, so once he walked past your vehicle, were you paying any attention to this individual at that point?
No,
And then at some point, he just opened his door and got in?
yes,
Now, you indicated that once you got out of the car, you went back to Tammy McWhorter's house.
yes,
Was she at home at this point?
yes.
Did she ever come outside during any of this that you're aware of? Did you ever see her
I
come
knocked on
outside?
the door, she came out when she got in the car to take me
All right.
home.
Well, let me rephrase that question. Prior to you coming back to Tammy McWhorter's, did she ever come outside and try to speak to you as this was going on, this carjacking?
No,
Okay. So when you went back to Tammy McWhorter's house and knocked on the door, what happened at that point?
she and her son was there, and if I'm not mistaken, her son opened the door, and I asked for her, and I was allowed to come in.
All right. And did you tell Ms. McWhorter what had happened?
Yes,
And were you still frightened at this point?
yes,
And at some point, did anyone call the police?
yes.
All right. And what happened next?
Well, after I went inside her duplex and explained to her what had happened, I asked her for a ride home. So she and her son got in the car to take me home, which was in Oconee County, and I called the police from her car.
All right. And did you meet with the police concerning what had happened?
Yes, I met with the police at a racetrack in Oconee County.
All right. And person that did this and what they had said to you?
Yes,
And at some point, were you asked to go to the police precinct?
yes,
All right. And did you speak with a Detective Norris
yes.
at the police department? And tell the jury what you did over at the police station.
He took me to the police, precinct, and he proceeded to take me. He asked me had I seen the news or anything, and I told him no, I had not seen the news. He wanted me to do a lineup, verify a picture of the lineup, and we went to the precinct, and I just viewed the lineup.
All right. And prior to viewing this lineup, did you give a formal statement that was recorded?
I don't remember, I don't think so.
All right. Did you listen to a recording of one of your statements?
At that time?
No.
No, now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So at some point you gave a statement that was
Yes.
recorded. All right. But you don't remember exactly when?
I know pretty much what I said, but not word for word.
Okay. Let me ask, if you will, can you look in State's Exhibit 703? Now, as you're looking at State's Exhibit 703, can you look inside that manila folder? Do you recognize that item?
Yes.
And what is that item?
It's the lineup that I was shown at the police department.
All right. And is this lineup the one that was shown to you on the day that happened, March 22nd, 2011?
Yes.
All right. And is that lineup fairly and accurately depict the lineup you were shown on that particular day?
Yes.
On the state moves to enter State's Exhibit 703. If I may see the exhibit, I'm going to ask you a few questions. Now, I'm showing you State's Exhibit 703. See if you can see that.
Yes.
All right. Prior to viewing the lineup, did the detective either read this or you read this admonition, what's called the photo lineup admonition?
Yes.
Did you read it or did the detective read it to you, or do you remember?
I read it.
Okay. And when you read it, did you read the part that talks about that the person that committed this crime may or may not be in the lineup? Did you understand that?
Yes.
Did you also read the part that says it's just as important to clear an innocent person as it is to select the person that committed this crime? Did you read that part?
Yes.
And did you also read the part that says you're not required to make any identification? Did you read that part?
Yes.
Okay. At any time, did Detective Norris pressure you into selecting anyone?
No.
At any time, did he try to suggest or give you hints of who the person they thought may have done this?
No.
Okay. Now, once you read this, did you indicate whether you understood this admonition?
Yes.
And is this your signature on this document?
Yes.
All right. And is that the date and time that you viewed this lineup?
Yes.
Okay. Is that March 22nd, 2011?
Yes.
And what was the time?
It's about 3.
Okay, about 3. So 1538, are you familiar with military time?
Yes.
Okay. Would that be about 3:38 in the
Yes.
afternoon? Now Now, looking at the second page is the lineup that you viewed. Is this the photographs you were shown?
Yes,
All right, and did you indicate to Detective Norris recognizing any of these individuals?
yes,
And using your laser pointer, can you indicate which person you recognize? Okay, so this person in this position, is
yes,
that correct?
yes,
Now, during this identification, did you indicate to Detective Norris that you weren't completely 100% positive it was that person?
yes,
And did you give him a reason why you were
Yes.
saying you weren't 100% sure? What was the reason you gave?
because this picture looked a lot younger than the person that approached me in the car. He looked like him, but he was just younger and he looked more mature at the time.
Okay, so then you told the detective this might be an older photograph of the person that you recognized.
Yes,
What distinct feature about this photograph sort of drew your attention?
his lips,
All right, so his lips, you felt that this was a distinctive feature that you kind of focused on?
yes,
Now, following this photograph identification, did you ever get your vehicle back?
yes.
All right, and how long was it before you got the vehicle back, your mother's vehicle?
It's a little over a month.
A month.
Yes.
All right. And during that time, had you seen any news reports?
Yes,
All right. And had you seen either a photograph or a video of the person involved in the police shooting, known as Jamie Hood?
yes,
And did you, when you saw the photograph or the video of this person, did you recognize the person?
yes.
And who did you recognize the person to be?
Jamie Hood,
Right, and was, I guess, what I'm asking
the
is,
person that got in my car.
yes, was that the same person
Yes,
that got in your car
Mhm.
with a handgun and took your car?
yes,
Did Mr. Jamie Hood ever take anything other than your car?
no. Well, I left my food in the car, that's the only thing that I know he took out of it.
Oh, okay.
Excuse me.
He took your food.
Yeah.
All right. So what kind of food? I neglected to ask you that. What kind of food?
McDonald's.
You had McDonald's
Yes.
in the car.
Mhm.
So when you got the car back, the McDonald's wasn't there anymore.
Yeah.
Now, when you got your car back, did you meet back with Detective Norris?
Yes,
All right. And did you indicate to Detective Norris that you had seen this individual on TV and you recognized the person?
yes,
And at that point, were you absolutely sure the person you saw on TV was the person that took your call?
yes,
Now, do you remember at some point whether Detective Norris asked you about some drugs?
yes.
And can you tell the jury about that?
He called my house after the car was gone for maybe a week, I would say, and told me that cocaine was found in the car. And he asked me, did it belong to me or did it belong to my mother?
Okay. And what did you tell him?
I told him it didn't belong to me, and I was almost positive it did belong to my mother.
Did Detective Norris, did you know who it belonged to?
No,
And did Detective Norris ask you anything about some pills by the name of alprazolam, or also known as Xanax?
no,
He didn't ask you anything about any
No.
pills. Do you know anybody that takes prescription Xanax?
Well, my mother's deceased now, but she did take that medicine. She had a prescription for that.
All right. So if Xanax was found in the car, is it possible that could belong to your mother?
Mm-hmm.
Now, one last question. The person that, that took your vehicle with a handgun, do you see that person in the courtroom today?
Yes.
And can you describe what that person's wearing and point to that person?
A navy blue suit with a light blue shirt and a blue tie with little designs.
Thank you. Your Honor, let the record reflect she was identified in